Ashes of Creation have just had their monthly live stream, and I have to say it might be one of my favorites of all time. They show off the systems around the wars, and it's very, very intriguing. So let me talk about it and let me show you what they showed us. So basically, this stream is talking about wars. Now, wars are different from sieges, which, you know, I did sort of make the mistake of in a previous video, but let's gloss over that. Wars are the systems where one node declares war on another, and that will eventually take the shape of quite a few different forms, which we'll talk about, but isn't itself directly a siege. Wars are more about the open world PvP systems, and I was very impressed with what they showed off. So the first thing that they really spoke about with these wars is that there is going to be some kind of buy-in. It's not like that you can just declare war against anybody and everybody whenever you like, as many times as you like. What happens is the Mer at the minute is doing the commission, but they did say that this was a temporary system for Alpha 2. Something more complicated with relationships will sort of eventually take its place. But for now, it's a commission. This commission is started by the Mer, and then the players of that node, if they want that to happen, will have to complete that commission. They will get a personal reward, and then obviously there will be the reward of the node going to war if that's something you want. Eventually, they do plan to have different war types. So for example, in this one, it's going to be about draining the node's XP that you fight with, but you might drain their gold. You might disable certain services. You might be able to take over mayorship. In Alpha 2 though, it's literally just going to be about this node XP. The winner will basically take over some land, and you'll start draining XP from that area, benefiting the node that you're in. Now, only nodes that are above tier 3 can actually declare war, and I think you have to be tier 3 to be declared upon. And the way the one in the stream worked is that you have to get to 1,000 points. That's the war objective basically. Whoever gets to 1,000, I think wins. Now, wars can be declared at any time. So if you want to, you can actually declare this at like 3 in the morning. Now, you might be thinking that's a huge advantage. Well, yes, but not really. Because all the war immediately does is make it so that each side can PvP against each other. The enemy immediately becomes flagged. No penalties if you kill them, and no penalties if they kill you. Worth noting that you will drop any materials if they do kill you, and vice versa obviously. So you declare war, and immediately you can PvP, and 1 kill appears to be 1 point. However, what will then happen at around about prime time on your server, so I think they may have mentioned something like from 6 o'clock till 10 o'clock, don't get hung up on the numbers, I can't remember exactly what Stephen said, but during that period of time, there will then be events. Those events will have different objectives, and it's these events that will really matter the most when it comes to the war. And the event that they show on the stream is that they all go to this sort of like headquarters, and there's sort of like a ring, a circle where the event is going to take place, and there's effectively 2 main objectives to start with. They have to get some imbued blood, and they have to get some imbued materials. Now, the blood comes from bandits, and that is pure PvE. These aren't marked on your map, and the materials will come from rubies that are marked on your map. Keep in mind that if you do die, maybe the other side kills you, you will drop what you have of these materials. So killing the other players and taking theirs, yeah, that's a good idea. Now, this is all done in the open world. Now, it's scheduled at a specific location, but in theory, anybody who is a citizen of the nodes in question can come and participate. And as far as I know, there's no reason why a guild wouldn't want you to protect their node if you are a citizen of that node. You might as well go and help if you want to. There's no real death penalties here apart from you dropping these materials and any materials you actually had on you, but your armor and all that kind of stuff is completely safe. You won't get death penalties when you die. You won't lose your XP, etc. Eventually, when they do this fight, which actually is a very cool fight, if you want to go and look at it, there's like a lot of stuff going on, which we'll talk about very briefly in a moment. But eventually, the objectives sort of change a little bit. Once one team is near the end of having all the rubies and the blood, then there's sort of these like catch-up mobs that I think basically drop a higher amount of blood and ruby, just to make it so that there's always a reason to keep fighting. And once that's done, once they've both got the required amount of these, there's then like a point that they need to go and channel, and whoever can get the thing fully channeled, well, they win that event, and you get quite a boost to that war score that we were talking about. So all the wars are in the open world, but the events are at specific areas in that node, and there'll be different events, and they're all going to be at sort of prime time. They didn't say, as far as I know, how long they expect a war to last, but honestly, if you looked at the numbers, I'd sort of expect a war to last maybe like 2 days. It doesn't sound like it's going to be a long time. but I'm not sure about that. We'll have to sort of wait and see. Once you win, if you win the event, that area itself on the map becomes yours and you get XP from that directly. And actually the winner will get a luck buff so that they want you to go and farm there, which will then generate XP for your node rather than the enemy's node. And there's always apparently going to be some kind of personal reward. So you're going to want to go and participate, not even for your node that much, but for you directly. It might be the Mer and the guild that's controlling that is getting the most reward, but you as a player should feel like it's actually worth your time, no matter who you are, as long as you are a citizen of that node. Now, it sounds like in most war types, non-citizens won't be able to compete. So if you're in a vassal, then you're probably out of luck. There might be a system later on where a vassal can declare war against somebody else or be part of it, but in Alpha 2, that's not going to be the case. So if you really want to participate in this open world, then you're going to have to give it a bash and, join a node that can participate. They did speak about how these systems will sort of interact with other systems. Maybe you hear rumors of somebody wanting to declare war on you. Well, what you could go and do is sort of slow down that war effort. Maybe you go and fight the caravans that they're trying to move the materials with. Maybe you go farm some of the resources in their node, etc. Sort of sounds like it's going to get very political, which I guess is the vibe that they're going for. There's a couple of extra little notes that we see in the combat. For example, we see the tank wall, which is like an impenetrable wall that you have to go around. They did talk about how they may have to tweak this, but it looked really fun to block off like choke points and stuff like that. Like they were blocking it on a bridge, blocking them in doorways and alleyways and stuff like that. Just looked really cool. They did say that for Alpha 2, the Mer of every node will get access to the dragon, but the dragon itself is going to have some kind of resources attributed to it. The dragon itself can be killed, and it can do these really cool abilities like diving in and doing damage. Sounds really cool, looked really cool. Speaking about abilities for the Mer, the Mers will get certain abilities. So the one that they showed off in the example here was because it's a scientific node, which in Alpha 2 all nodes are scientific. But the Mer has this ability where everybody in a circle basically gets damage increase and damage mitigation for I think 5 minutes, they said. And really, I think that war system is pretty damn cool. It's the instigation between factions. When I say factions, I don't mean actual factions. I mean like rival vying factions. Are you a member of this node? Are you a citizen of this node? Or are you declaring your allegiance to this node? Okay, well then go and fight. Now, some people might not even want to be involved necessarily, because if you are involved in these wars, there's a good chance that you can just be killed at any time by the enemy faction. If you are at war with them, they can kill you indiscriminately. So I think certain players will keep that in mind. Some players, for example, might want to be a member of a vassal node and just do the PvE, do the dragons that are in the open world, not dragons on the Mer mounts. Do the crafting. They mentioned again that crafting is going to be incredibly important in Ashes Creation. There should be something that fits your taste if you don't want to be PvP'd and if you don't want to do these systems. In theory, I don't think it'll be that bad. It sounds like because of the buy-in for the wars, it's unlikely that you'll just be at war with everybody. And even if you are, if you hang around in your node, you'll probably have people from your node fighting for you and against them. So there should be stuff to do that isn't just getting stomped by people in the open world on the opposing faction. All in all, I really liked it. I'm not 100% sure how the wars themselves lead into sieges. I don't know how that happens. I'm a little bit confused by that, but I'm sure we'll figure that out before Alpha 2. But really, I like this system. I think it looks to be a good instigator of world PvP, and it's sort of focusing the world PvP as well, so that, it's timed at specific times if you want like an event. But then if you want to be off peak, maybe you go into the enemy's node, you try and find their citizens, you try and kill them, take the stuff, no punishment, you're all good. I think it really opens up the potential and that rivalry and reasons to be fighting. Good politics, good PvP. The overall PvP looked actually really good, I think. The visuals of the game look good, and they're talking about how there's more coming, this DLSS that they've got now. Yeah, I thought it was really good. May have been the best showcase I've seen for a while. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I am going to have a guild in EU for Alpha 2. Well, and going forward beyond that. If you want to come and join that, please sign up in my Discord. At some point, I'm going to get hard numbers on how many we have in the Alpha 2, and we'll see what we can do together. Come and join me. Why not? Big shout out to my Patreons. If you want to support the channel, that really is the best way. You can always come and talk to me about this or anything over on Twitch. We'll be streaming this and, pretty much every other MMO out there when they come out. For now, have a most beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.